friends, welcome back. I am currently in New York City right now. Today we're going to talk about how you can live as a digital nomad in New York City right now. Lived and worked as a digital nomad in many countries and many cities all over the world, and I've always wanted to try out living in New York. I've been here a few times before for very long and tiresome weekends, trying to jam-pack everything all into one weekend, but luckily if you are a digital nomad, you can take your sweet time here while also carefully thinking about your budget. New York City is not a haven for digital nomads because it is very expensive to live here, but it compensates for that with its crazy, lively energy and never-ending things to do. Let's talk about how you can live as a digital nomad in New York City. It's summer in New York City right now, as you can see. It's hot. I think the first thing we need to talk about is accommodations, because this is literally going to eat your budget. Let's go chat in a quieter area. Much better. Welcome to Central Park, the freshest air in the Big Apple. There are so many nooks and little spaces in here. Sometimes it actually feels like you're alone in a city full of 8 million people. Okay, where were we? Your accommodations are going to greatly depend on your budget and how long you're going to be here. New York is not a beginner digital nomad city because the cost of living is so high. And it's going to take some time to find the right place. So if you are a total brand newcomer, one of the housing options I suggest you check out first are co-living spaces. Co-living spaces allow you to ease into the cost of living in New York, and also it allows you to meet people right off the bat. Co-living organizations are appealing because you get a fully furnished private room. The rent is relatively affordable, the move-in and move-out dates are flexible, and the houses have all of the amenities you might need for living and working, like high-speed internet, working areas. I've heard great things about a co-living organization called Outpost. They have a variety of private room options across several locations in New York City, mostly Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. So typically in these co-living spaces, for each household, there is a house leader, and this house leader kind of like organizes social events and just makes sure everything in the house is running smoothly. They make sure that there are fun events, that everyone's being responsible. So what's really cool about this is it's an organized community with an international mix of a wide age range of people. A lot of the renters in co-living spaces are like you in that they're coming to New York to get a taste of living, working, or studying here. I've also found that these are the cheapest options for what you get, for everything that you get in a private room and living in a house. So it really is a great start. So there's Outpost, and then other co-living options that I found with decent prices. Decent meaning on the lower end around $1,000, maybe $1,200, $1,500, and on the higher end it's about $2,000 a month. And I've linked them below just in case you want to check them out. Okay, it's getting hot out here. Let's head back to my apartment, let's get the AC going, and let's talk about what it's like living in Manhattan. Enter with or by Metro card. So there are two things you need in the subway: a mask and a Metro card. If you have a higher budget and you're staying here for a shorter period, like a few months or less, which is what I'm doing, you could check out Airbnb. I've said this before in my videos, I almost exclusively use Airbnb because I do a lot of monthly stays. And when you're using Airbnb for 30 days, you can get anywhere from a 30 to 70% discount as long as you're staying in monthly increments. Since I'm only here for a month, I knew I wanted to be in Manhattan, but it's also the most expensive area to live in New York. So you really need to set those expectations before you start looking if you want to be in Manhattan. Here's the thing, if you're in New York, you're in the city. Most places in New York have relatively good subway connections. So it's not hard to get into the heart of the city or into Manhattan, but generally the further away you are from Manhattan, the more affordable the rent prices are. So if you're looking for affordable places, you would be really lucky to find a place in Manhattan. Apartments here are notoriously small, so if you want more space, it's also going to cost a lot more. Trust me, I was living in places all over Asia, Europe, Central America before I came here. So the cost of living in New York was shocking to me as I began planning my stay. My boyfriend and I, who also travels with me, he's a digital nomad as well, we really budgeted our last few months before we came to New York because we knew how much it was going to cost here. Let me give you a little tour of this apartment. Check this view out. We can see the Empire State Building right there. The Chrysler Building is to the left. This right here is the Queensboro Bridge. That is the Roosevelt Island tram. It goes by like 50 times a day. And over here we have another really gorgeous view. That is the East River, and this is Roosevelt Island. We have a really nice working station here. Lots of space to do some at-home workouts. A beautiful living room. Kitchen is right here, and the bedroom is in there. So the cost of this apartment is $8,500 a month. It comes with a really enormous front desk area. It comes with a gym membership, there's security, but we got a 49% monthly discount from the Airbnb owner. So our total with Airbnb fees and Airbnb insurance and all that cost us $4,700 for the month. And as you can see, this apartment has a lot of space. We've got a large table right here that acts as our working desk. I don't personally seek out co-working spaces. I very much enjoy working from home or working from where I live. That's what I factor in to my rental is I usually look for a place with a large working area and a lot of natural light, as you can see here. If you come to New York and you're looking for places to work, New York has an endless amount of coffee shops and cafes. It's like almost overwhelming to choose. And the cost of working in a cafe is, you know, a cup of coffee or two. If you like working from co-working spaces with reliable and fast Wi-Fi, meeting rooms, really nice working areas, there are countless co-working spaces in every borough. Check this app out, it's called Croissant. It's a monthly membership that lets you find open seats in co-working spaces in New York City, and I think they're in a few other cities around the world. What's great about Croissant is that you can jump to different locations all over the city. So you can technically like work and explore different areas, you know, every single day or every week that you're here. Co-working spaces and co-working memberships, however, can be anywhere between $200 to $500 a month. So if you can makeshift working in your apartment, then those extra $100 can just go back into your rent. Okay, so now that we've gotten accommodations out of the way, let's talk about the cost of food. So in terms of food costs, this is really going to depend on how much you decide that you want to go out to eat versus how much you're going to cook at home. Generally, restaurants in New York are not cheap. If you and a friend go out for dinner, let's say you get an appetizer, you get 2 entrees, and you get 2 drinks, you are most likely going to spend around $100. There are a ton of inexpensive and cheap eats all over the city. They range between $5 to $15 a meal. They really are all over New York. You just have to consider the size of your meal, the cost of the ingredients, and the restaurant location because overhead is much higher in expensive neighborhoods. If you're grocery shopping, the cheapest places are Trader Joe's, I would say, is the cheapest and has a really good variety of organic and natural foods that is not at the same price as Whole Foods. I've been shopping at local grocery stores. I've also found that international marts are also much cheaper. So now that we've covered Manhattan, we're going to head over to Brooklyn where my friend Atlee has been living. She's going to talk about what it's like living in Brooklyn versus Manhattan.
Hey guys, my name is Atlee. I am an artist living and working here in beautiful Brooklyn, New York. I am currently at Prospect Park with my dog, Masha. She's thrilled to be here. I've been living in Brooklyn for about 3 years now, and I lived in several different major cities in the US, and I will say that it is not a lie that New York is very very, very expensive. However, if you do decide to come and live and work here in New York City, especially if you're an artist or on a tighter budget, then I highly suggest you come and check out Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, you can get more bang for your buck. That goes for apartment space and even food and sometimes bars and entertainment. One of the coolest things about Brooklyn is something that Brooklyn and Manhattan have in common, which is that in every different neighborhood, you're going to get a completely different vibe and almost a completely different cultural experience. Brooklyn has so many different boroughs. There's Crown Heights, there's Williamsburg, there's Prospect Heights, Park Slope, Greenpoint, Red Hook, and that's just naming a few. I would suggest before you decide where you want to live in Brooklyn, definitely come and spend at least a day in each neighborhood and see which one really speaks to you. So as you can see, there's a lot of things in Brooklyn that you don't have in Manhattan. For instance, chickens on the streets, a barbecue on the sidewalk. Brooklyn's just a lot more like a big, huge neighborhood where you can kind of do things like that. Okay, so I got an oat milk latte and a gluten-free chicken wrap, and it was like $18 including tax and tips. So yeah, not cheap. Not cheap, and definitely not something I do every day here. So this is my apartment. I live about a 15-minute walk away from Prospect Park, and we live in a 3-bedroom, 1 tiny bath apartment. Now, we pay $2,700 for this apartment. We don't have laundry on site, but there's a laundromat right around the corner, and it's close to everything you need, grocery stores, etc., etc. Now, in New York City, regardless of where you live, whether it's Brooklyn or Manhattan, you need to get really creative with your space because you don't have a lot of it. So for instance, as you'll see, the little space out there is my office, but it used to be a little sort of unused ragtag closet. We took all the shelves out and we made it into my at-home office, which has been really amazing for me during this crazy time. Moral of the story is, if you want to live in New York, you of course can live here. It just might take some sacrifices. You might have to live in Brooklyn versus Manhattan. You might have to live with 4 roommates. Who knows? But if you want to do it, you of course can do it. It is not impossible. It's just not necessarily easy.
So friends, I hope this video gave you enough knowledge to help you plan your stay in New York and hopefully make your stay and all of your time here run as smoothly as possible. New York offers so many different experiences. You can have so many adventures here, so don't let the cost deter you. Just make sure to plan and budget wisely with all the tips I gave you in this video. Let me know if you have any questions, drop them down below. I will answer as many as I can. You can also reach out to me on Instagram. I'm really good at responding to my messages if you guys have any questions about being a digital nomad, remote work, travel, or if you just want to stop by and say hi. Thank you everyone. Until next time, take on the world.
Make you lose yourself.